Hey guys, this is Darcy's Mixed Media, and I dyed some papers I thought I'd just show you. I used the same process that I showed you in a previous video, and I will try to link that in the description box below. Some of the papers got laid on top of other papers or something, so there's some weird stuff going on, which is actually kind of cool stuff. I was trying to get blues and browns, and I ended up with more green than anything. And then I also want to show you, I was trying to think about how I was layering my stencils in between, just in case something like this happened, where I've got a little bit of the daisy showing and the circle showing at the same time. If you watch PM Artist Studio, they talked about that kind of thing with layering stencils. See how, and so I was, trying to think about that, and because sometimes it does go through a couple pages, like especially if they stay wet. Those ones happen to stay wet. And then this is get the pansies and the daisies together. And so yeah, this one I used so that's from, this one actually is just, I was like getting some of the wet off the paper, and I was getting some wet off some fabric that I dyed, so that one came out really interesting. Anyway, for this first stack, I used coffee base, so it was really dark, like 4 times, and then see how the leaves and the moth, they kind of came through together, but it works, I think. I love this for the paper dyeing. I haven't tried it on the gel plate yet. Okay, so this first stack, yeah, see, left it on a little long, some paint got on there, but I don't mind. This first stack has a base of coffee dye, is what I'm trying to say. And it's probably like double dark coffee. Like, I use like 4 tablespoons for 1 cup. No, maybe that's quadruple. I don't know how strong you guys like your coffee, but for about 8 or 9 ounces, I did like 4 tablespoons. And what's sad is you can't even tell that there's coffee, because I then spray the dyes. See, I was trying to get blue. This looks more blue in my camera than it does in real life. But I wanted some blue and brown for my journals that I made. That's more of, I set some wet fabric on it. The fabric dye actually is cocoa dyed, so it's like a lot more brown. And I was setting it on this, and then I put it in between some of these to get them to dry faster. And I think when I flip my pile, because I flip it a couple times, this got a little off-centered, so there's kind of a, in some spots there's kind of a double, but it still looks cool. There's, yeah, double stencil, because the stencil must have moved. And this is a nut. See, it's amazing what you can get just when you're getting some liquid off your other papers. See, crescents. The majority of these stencils are from PM Artist Studio. Oh, I have some black ink now. That's what that's from. So I've got some nice, this stencil is from Amazon. Can't remember what it's called. And this is where I sprayed a little bit of the white linen from Dilutions. Here also I sprayed some of the white linen. And that blue is actually watered down acrylic. But everything else is dyes. Some Seth Apter dyes, some Dilutions dyes, and some oxides. And then this again is the watered down acrylic. See some X's in there, a dragonfly. This is, and then a butterfly shows through a little bit on that side. Oh, this is a shell. I don't think I've shown you this one yet. Alright, I don't think I've shown you any of these. These are from PM Artist Studio. There's that one. And that one's the other one that you saw before. And this one, which is similar but different. I know, you're like, wait, you just showed that one. No, they're a little different. See, they're different. They're different. I like swirls. It gives it an interesting pattern on the dyed paper too, which is fun. We have a butterfly, which kind of shows up and shows through there a little bit. More of the big bubbles where you could see it doubled up. The stencil moved, but it still works. Some bloopy loops for there we go on this side. I've had pages, I think I had a page sitting on top of it, and so I ended up with all this kind of cool. It's kind of cool because, it's got some blue and some just different stuff coming through, but you can still see the butterfly, which is cool. So, and then I had done these pages earlier, so that's where some of this brown stuff is coming from on the masks. It's from the hawk, yeah. So yeah, this one was the coffee base with the inks. In the next stack, we're almost done with this first stack. I've been dyeing a lot of paper. This is actually 2 dye sessions. I just kind of fill up my bucket with my stencils and my sprays and the inks and everything. And I try to think about, you know, if it's folded in half, will it still look good? Or if it's on one page, will it still look good? So, and they're totally different from one side to the next. I mean, depending on what I did. A little bit of Celtic knot showing through there. So you got that butterfly with a little bit of loopy loops that happened to sit on there while it was drying, I think. I think that one I sprayed blue around and then sprayed the honey or the vanilla in the middle. Whatever it was. Oh, I do add some vanilla, actual vanilla, to my coffee mixture just so it won't be quite so strong. That's one of my stencils. This one is a, oh, what is her name? St. Hilaire. Is it Elizabeth St. Hilaire? Is that her name? From Joggles. And this one I think is also her. Of all the, I got some Joggles stencils and I think they were all Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and then I just found her on YouTube. Surprisingly, was not already watching her. So I do some in the middle, and if I dry them quickly, they actually just kind of stay kind of plain. That's cool. Here's the Dinged Up Donuts from Pam Artist Studio. A little bit of the butterfly shows through there. Another butterfly. Dragonfly with the quilted, something, I forget, quilted circles. Quilted crop circles, that's what they're called. This has a little bit of the white linen dilution spray on it. I kind of like how this came out. I don't know if I moved it a lot when it was drying, or if maybe it's got a little bit of the quilted crop circle, tiny bit of that thrown through, and I don't know. It has a lot of interest, I think. A lot of these pages do. And then, you know, I usually have these in between, so you get, you know, the back and front. That one has some blue on it. And eventually, you know, I pour the stuff back. That's a stencil that I made, that I cut myself. Except it gets stuck to the paper sometimes because it's just on transparency film. That is, I'll probably take a brush to rub that off, just, or I'll set this, like do on the jelly plate with just a clear glaze, just so it doesn't come off. Either I'll make it come off or I'll make it stay on. So ignore that shell one. Alright, that was just like a, I don't know what happened with that, but it almost looks like some kind of flying fish, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. Quilted crop circles, one of my favorites. That and the bloopy loops and the daisies. I'm not sure. This one's from Joggles, but I can't remember who it is. See, this one has some of that showing through, the X's. They work together, I think. And that's just what happened when I was blow drying it, I think. Yes, I get impatient and I start blow drying them and separating them so they'll dry a little bit faster. You can see that shell thing in there. And this was actually just at the bottom when I was dyeing the fabric. That was just sitting underneath it all, so it's nice and grungy. Alright, now these, the base is cocoa, water, vanilla, cinnamon. I didn't put any baking soda in this one. I did put a little baking soda in the coffee one, but I wasn't thinking about it here. And I've already brushed these, so pretty much anything that's going to come off has come off. I take a stiff dry brush, clean, and I just kind of get the excess, because the cocoa powder, it does not fully dissolve ever. You think it's dissolved and then your paper dries, and then when your paper's wet, it's slimy, so you're like, I want to get this paper dry fast, but you get a very, very grungy and very brown. So here I added some inks here, and that's just craziness. There's one with some stencils, and I just kind of like how it settles into the edges so you can see it strongly, more stencil, and then the back of that. And then you got the 3 circles on the music paper. So yeah, this was Seth After Dyes and hot cocoa. Well, not hot cocoa. There's no sugar in it. It's just cocoa. What did I say? It's water, cocoa, vanilla, cinnamon. I wanted it to smell good, you know. Doesn't really smell like anything though. It doesn't smell bad, so that's good. That's one of my hand cut ones. So yeah, I thought you guys just might like to see my very grungy. These ones are like super grungy. Like, just look at it. Looks like dirt. It's not. It's actually cocoa. And the reason I put cinnamon in is well, once it's dry, it shouldn't matter. But just to help prevent mold, I guess. Someone did that with their spray. This one actually is on grid paper. You can see it a tiny bit. Oh, and then this one, if you saw my video for the Makers Creative Collab, hashtag Makers Creative Collab, I had done all these flowers, and some of them I had done on sticky crap. And so I had the backing from the sticky crap, and I just used that in between some papers to get some designs. So I had just got Seth After inks and I wanted to try them out. I only had 3 colors. I had the coffee, the honey, and a turquoise one. I can't remember what it's called. It might be Bahama something, or it just might be turquoise. And here's another example where like I had the circle stamp. I think it was the 3 circles across. But it still, it you know, goes well with that stencil. So combining stencils. And I will try to link their video where they talked about that in my description box. I'll also link it in my Facebook probably, or somewhere, so that I could be entered. They have a monthly giveaway. You'll have to go to their channel and maybe even their group to see what that's about, but definitely their channel. Come check out a live sometime, PM Artist Studio. I am 95% of the time I'm in the chat. So, you know, come check out a live, come chat with us. It's actually a pretty active chat, and we have a lot of fun in there. And we love seeing, it's a mother-daughter, Patricia and Mariah. And so it's fun to see Patricia, the mom, see her facial expressions in reaction to some things that Mariah might say or suggest. And Mariah's got her facial expressions too. And what's cool is they've got the little face cams up in the corners, and then they've got top side where Patricia is doing her jelly plate or any whatever art she's doing that day. And so you get to see everything. It's really cool. So I love Patricia and Mariah. They are an awesome duo, well, trio really, because a lot of their stencils are created or revised by Mariah's husband, Brad. And then occasionally you get to see Mariah's daughter, Izzy. She's 5. She's adorable. See how grungy that came out? That's so grungy. So come check us out. I will try to put all the links to their group and everything. My group, which is just, you know, if you ever want to show me your stuff, you can either come in my Facebook group, or you can, on Etsy, you can message me and say, here, look what I made. I'd be happy. I love seeing what other people make. I especially love seeing, you know, when people make stuff, using stuff that I made, because there is one store, Paper Baker Creations, I think it is. The mom makes some stuff and the daughter does more of the digital stuff and takes care of the store side of it. And sometimes you'll see some of my medallions in the store there. So here's some more of the flowers. That was just the back side of the sticky crop. Just stuck it on there. And which also reminds you, you can use your die cuts as masks. Just stick them in between the papers when you're dyeing them, and you get some interesting stuff. So in case you missed it, the reason these are so grungy is because I used cocoa powder. Also, it makes it very slimy when it's wet, but once it's dry, it's fine. Most of these I dried with a hair dryer because I was just I was like, ew, it's so gross. Let me get this dry fast. And then it's fine. Sometimes you can kind of feel a little bit of a raised bit from the dirt, and sometimes it's like perfectly smooth, and you're like, yeah, like here, I don't feel any of that. I'm like, how is that? It's just ingrained. It's just part of the paper now. So, yep. Oh my goodness. I dyed a lot of papers this week. I hope you guys are watching this at double speed because, well, unless you like will miss too much. See, even the ripped ones, I just left them ripped. I'm like, I'll use them. I'll use them in a really grungy journal or in some collage. Okay, he didn't come out real great. It's almost like a fossil on a cave wall, though. But what I might do is take this mask, this dragonfly mask, and do some texture paste to it. And then it will really look like it's sticking out of a wall, right? See, I did a moon flower. Get it? I'm a little quirky. So yeah, I got some really, really super grungy papers this week in my dyeing. And I'm pretty excited about it because I've got some covers and now I've got plenty of papers. And I've got more fabric to play with now too. And this bright yellow, well, it was bright yellow, but look, it's not so bright yellow now. This all looks like basically, it's like you see it through this like grunge film. But it's just that I did, I think I did coffee with a little hot cocoa in it is what I did for this. With some vanilla and cinnamon. And this one I did add baking powder too. I don't know why, because I'm not going to use the... I just was trying to see if it needed it. Because Nathan, my son, says if it doesn't fizz up, then there wasn't a lot of acidity in what you started with anyway. And if you just put... See, this was like a bright pink. And now it's... I'm more apt to use it now. Same with those. So, yep. I did a lot of dyeing. Yeah, he says if it doesn't fizz, it wasn't very acidic to begin with. So, I wouldn't worry too much about your coffee dyed papers and whatnot being acidic, because it's not as acidic as you might think. Plus, photos have lasted centuries, and they didn't have special acid-free paper they were putting them on back then, and the photos lasted, so... I don't know. I don't worry about it. But that's just me. Y'all do you. I hope you all have a delightful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Subscribe, like. Ooh, I'll have to show you all the, we've been playing with squirrel. Oh, where's my squirrel? With the, finally using some of my wax seals. So I'll have to do a video on that soon. All right, you guys have a delightful day. Love you. Subscribe, like, comment. Love it all. Thanks.